Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk. Back again with you guys for another episode of our Raw Reaction series. Joining you on Thursday, we've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 5. Well, you count Thursday, I suppose. So 5 days. 5 days to go until we face Crystal Palace on Monday. It's getting ever closer. And of course, very soon, Mikel Arteta will be doing his press conference in which we should find out plenty more about the state of our squad, including the fitness of Tomiyasu, Aaron Ramsdale's progress, and probably some interesting questions on William Saliba as well. So there's plenty of interesting stuff to go. So without further ado, let's jump into the chat box. Say good morning. Good morning to Tony getting in there first. Fantastic stuff. Matt G, 4 days to play. Yeah, again, it's an evening game, so I'm kind of counting it as 5. Lovely stuff. Titus, you're getting closer. You're third this day. You're getting very, very close to getting that number 1 spot. Rich Cardo, good morning to you, mate. Jose, PD Ween, good morning to you. Day 5,000 of the international break, indeed. G. Norburn, Mukit, Martin, Vinny, Kevin, Paul, Afsar, good morning, guys. Tygonosaurus, AFC West Mids, Marcus, Jonathan, Viraj, Zander, Canoe, good morning to you guys, to Lars, to Marley as well, to HJC Photographer, Tulip, Carl Brewster, Pedro, good morning, guys. Good morning to everybody. Sorry, I can't say it to everyone that's joining us in the chat, but really appreciate everyone that does tune in for our daily shows. Not bundles of news to go through, but certainly some interesting pieces of news to discuss before we go into our daily Q&A session, of course. So without further ado, let's kick off by telling you, as always, to go and subscribe to The Arsenal Way. If you've been tuning in for our 9:30 shows, they've now moved to 10 a.m., just half an hour later, over on The Arsenal Way. Myself and Bailey will be over there in the morning discussing all of the latest topics surrounding the club and getting more reaction from you guys in the chat box as well. We've hit now 10,000 subs. So thank you so much, guys, for the support that you've shown the channel. And also, make sure you're dropping a like on today's show. Now, yesterday, myself and Ben from the Marseille View sat down to discuss William Saliba. We talked about his France debut, and importantly, we talked about his future at the club. It certainly kind of sculpted my current view on William Saliba. And I was listening back to the Arscast with Andrew and James, of course. And James raised some really interesting points from his trip to Marseille and watching Saliba, and certainly confirmed a lot of my feelings about the situation, which is that I think that he will probably go at this point. I think that he will probably leave the club. I know that a lot of people felt that he was going to stay. It's just an opinion. It's an informed one, but it's just an opinion right now as to where I'm kind of at with William Saliba. But all that's talked about and more in yesterday's report of Saliba. Tonight at 8 p.m. UK time, I'll be joined by Kev, aka Next Generation Arsenal from Twitter, to be discussing all of the latest Arsenal youth updates. We'll be talking about following Balogun's time with Middlesbrough and how Brooke Norton-Cuffy has been getting on at Lincoln City. Lots of excitement around him moving forwards as well. However, our first main story of the day is that the Premier League is set to introduce the 5 substitutions rule back into play. I don't know how far down the leagues this will go. I imagine it should follow through to the Championship and below. But the 5 subs rule is something that the Premier League has kind of been resistant to, but of late they have changed their minds, and we will return to this. And this builds the today's question about 5 substitutions, about whether or not you're happy to see the 5 substitutions rule return to the Premier League. The last time we had this, of course, was during the pandemic. During the real height of the pandemic, that is. We're still currently in it, never seemingly to go away. But that was when it was its height. So the question for our poll today is, are you pleased 5 sub rule is returning to the EPL? That's the question for today. Let's get your votes into the chat box. You've now got that available to you. So we'll revisit that at the end of the news. Moving forwards to our next story, Arsenal's 3 kits for next season have supposedly been leaked. It's always a good day of the year when we get the full kit leaks. We always enjoy a good kit leak when they're accidentally sent out, or someone's opened the boxes a little bit too early as they are sent out ready for release. I have to say that whilst the home kit is going to have to grow on me, it may help if if Cody Gakpo's wearing it. But other than that, it's going to have to grow on me. The pink shirt, I'm fine with. I quite like the black trim or the dark navy trim on that. But to be honest, the black kit may possibly be one of my favourite kits I have ever seen the Arsenal pull on. Because not only is it a black kit, you've got this brilliant 3D effect of the AFC going around it as well. The gold writing, the gold badge, and the Adidas logo as well. And the slightly grayer Adidas stripes on the shoulders as well. For me, and everybody knows, if there is one color that I do enjoy to wear, it's black. So I'm absolutely in love with that kit, and it's up there with my favorite Arsenal kits if it is turning out to be true. And yeah, it's quite incredible, and that will be ordered almost immediately, so you can guarantee to see me wearing that probably sometime in, I would imagine, May. I think is when it will probably end up coming out. So we'll see, but I look forward to that, and I'm very much enjoying the thought process of seeing that shirt worn by the team next season. Bad news regarding Darwin Nunez. Interesting reports coming out yesterday that supposedly Manchester United are much further ahead in their chase of the Uruguayan striker than Arsenal are. It's the understanding that Arsenal are interested. They're currently monitoring his situation. They're tracking him for this season. But Man United are said to be more so in the fold to bring him into the team, possibly as a replacement for, Cristiano Ronaldo and Mason Greenwood. So that's a frustration, because I think Nunez is certainly up there with the strikers that Arsenal should be certainly looking at. But what I do think is that this is a situation where there's a long, long time to go. And if Arsenal do end up finishing in the Champions League over Manchester United, that would give Arsenal a huge boost if they were to try and convince Nunez to join the club. United may be able to offer him a lot more wages, but the premise of Premier League and Champions League football would hopefully, you'd think, be enough to convince the striker to make the switch to Arsenal instead. However, one player that it doesn't, unfortunately, look like is going to be joining Arsenal is Patrick Schick. This is our headline story of the day. The Leverkusen CEO, Fernando Caro, sorry, I don't know why I've misspelt his surname on this, but Fernando Caro came out and started talking about Patrick Schick for the first time, kind of regarding his future. And he came out to say that, no, we're not going to sell Patrick Schick, so there is no need to talk at all. He feels very comfortable with us. We count on him in planning for the next few years. Now, we do know that things can change very, very quickly. And of course, why would he come out and say, oh, yeah, we're open to selling him? Because that's only going to drop the price significantly. And ultimately, if a club is able to offer Leverkusen a fee that they aren't able to say no to, and Patrick Schick desperately wants to make a switch, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to keep hold of him, because they're a club that will have to sell. You think about Kai Havertz. They certainly didn't want to sell Kai Havertz, but they did. They certainly didn't want to sell. Who am I forgetting? The guy that went to Borussia Dortmund. Julian Brandt. They didn't want to sell him either, but didn't have much choice in the end. And certainly this would be the case again with Patrick Schick. They're a club that, if they get offered a certain amount of money, would need to accept it. And you can imagine that would happen again with Patrick Schick. So whilst this seems very finite and very determinative, I'm not sure that actually it is, and that a club would certainly be able to pinch Schick from Leverkusen if they offered the right amount of money, and if they were to be able to give Patrick Schick the assurances to kind of force through a move in the summer. And that does complete all of the news for today. Not too many stories to go through. Fingers crossed, we've got plenty more to discuss tomorrow, press conference and stuff like that. We will move now on to your questions in the chat box. Let's have a quick check of that poll that we put into the chat box. Are you pleased the 5-sub rule is returning to the Premier League? 72% of you saying yes. 29, we just dropped up rather to 29% of people saying no. So not so split as we've seen some of the polls this week. Certainly much more in favour of seeing the 5-sub rule. It's interesting, isn't it? Because it does mean that Arsenal have more scope, arguably, to bring in stronger depth to their team. It could have given Arsenal even more benefits when playing some of the teams that it should be beating. And teams like Spurs, teams like West Ham are going to have to strengthen even more than maybe they should have done prior to this rule being made. So there's some interesting things to discuss along that topic. But without further ado, let's go into the chat box. Let's get your questions. Make sure you're dropping a like on the video and subscribing as well if you are new. Okay, then let's jump into the chat. Manu says no Nunez or Schick. That means Charles de Ketelaere is back on the table. I know that the Italian clubs are very, very high on him, so there's a big chance that we may see him end up in Serie A next season. Ollie says, hey Tom, the highest number of goals Schick has scored in a season before this is 13 in all competitions. For a 26-year-old striker, that is not the top class output we need. Again, I have discussed this at length a number of times. This is not something I buy into. I judge a player on what they're doing currently right now. I judge them based upon the progression that they've made, and the progression that Patrick Schick has made over the last 10 kind of months since the start of the European Championships has been brilliant. I'm not going to judge him based on what's gone before. I'm actually going to judge him on how he's come out of that period. I'm not going to judge him based on what happened in 2020 or 2019. I'm going to judge him on what he's doing right now. And what he's doing right now is absolutely brilliant. John says, Tom, would you sign Lautaro Martinez for 60 million euros? Not on his own. I would need to see us sign a more physical forward as well alongside him, I think, to justify us going for someone like Lautaro Martinez. Sofiso says, do we still qualify for the Champions League if we get top 4 and West Ham win the Europa League? Yes, we do. You can only have 5 teams in the Champions League. So if we were to finish in the top 4 and West Ham won the Europa League, they would be the 5th team. If it had been that Man United had won the Champions League, that's where it's a problem. The only other way that it changes is if, say, we finish 4th, Man United or Spurs finish 3rd, Chelsea drop out of the top 4 and win the Champions League, and West Ham win the Europa League. That's the only way that 4th spot would not be a Champions League place, which is, pretty unlikely. Chelsea are going to finish in the top 4. I think that's pretty much guaranteed by this point. We're also hoping that we can maybe even finish above Chelsea. That's still an option for Arsenal if they're able to put together enough points and beat Chelsea and hope that they drop a few more points as well. So there's always that option. But the only way that we would see 4th place no longer become a Champions League spot is if West Ham won the Europa League and finished outside the top 4. If Chelsea won the Champions League, or United or City, or Liverpool or City won the Champions League and finished outside the top 4, and then Man United and Arsenal finish inside the top 4. That's the only way that it would happen, or Spurs. So, it's pretty complicated, but hopefully that's made sense. Thoughts? Alpha says, on Gary Neville's comments on overlap about Arsenal, he straight up said Arsenal can only dream of 4th, and after 4th, Arteta could just leave because this is the ceiling with Arsenal. It depends on what they do. Gary Neville is notoriously wrong about quite a lot of things in football. He says quite a lot of few things that are right, sure, but it depends what Arsenal are expecting. It depends what Arsenal are looking to do. If Arsenal are wanting to progress towards being title challengers again, then they can achieve that if they look to spend, if they look to bring in the players that they need. But there's certainly the capabilities of this team to continue to progress. Arteta has shown the ability to progress this side, to improve himself and to move forwards. But Gary Neville is very salty about United being where they are, and I think that is impacting his viewpoint on other teams that are around them and their rivals like Arsenal, who I don't think he ever expected to be in the top 4 this season. Marcus says 5 subs means City can bring on more top-class players. Huge advantage to them. It is a big advantage to those big teams that have got big squads. But Arsenal need to put themselves into a position where they're competing with them as well. And says, Tom, I'm glad those are the 2 strikers you like because I know we'll end up not getting them and those are not my preferred options. It's always what happens, Answer. Whoever I go for turns out to be the ones that we don't get. It's just the way that it goes. But I do prefer them to your picks. So there you go. Jason says, with the new 5-sub rule coming in for next season, this will affect everyone's transfer plans. I think that it will. Yes, I think that it will certainly cause more teams to spend more. It will cause more competition for certain players because more teams will be looking at them. So, it will certainly affect transfer plans. Hopefully it affects ours as well and that we push harder to bring more strength and depth to the squad. Pedro says, should Arsenal have a cranberry and gold kit every 10 years to commemorate the original kit? The burgundy style one. Should they have it every 10 years? I'm not sure if every 10. I liked it when we did the one that we did in 2006 or 2005-6. It was a great kit. I had got it. I don't know where it is. It's somewhere under piles of clothes somewhere, probably at my old house, to be honest. But yeah, it was a great kit. I'm not sure whether or not you do it every 10 years. Maybe that loosens the speciality of it. I'm not sure, but I'd like to see it come back at some stage. It'd be quite nice, maybe after the 25 years, which would be in 31. So another 25 years later, maybe we go for it then. Pina Ween says, if we don't sign Schick, who would you get in his place? I would go for Darwin Nunez as the option, to be honest. Vinny says, do you think Laka's hat-trick? Yes, that's something that we didn't discuss, actually, in today's news. Something I did mean to put on the list, and for some reason went a little bit awry. Arsenal played a friendly yesterday against Brentford, in which they won 4-1 with the players that were available. Lacazette got on the score sheet 3 times. Rob Holding as well getting a goal as well. So it's good to see Lacazette scoring goals, putting him in good form ahead of those closing fixtures. So that's really positive. But do you think it will give them confidence going into the Palace game, or do you think it will just be a friendly and thought of as another training session? Why wouldn't it give Lacazette confidence to get 3 goals? I hope that it does, and I hope that it picks him up into the right position where he's now ready to go all guns blazing into the final kind of few months or couple of months of the season. It's mad that there's only a couple of months left. April and May, that's it, and then we're done. 2021, 22 over. It's mad how fast this year is already going, isn't it? Life is so short. Great. Del Mondo says, Tom, do you think we should sign Tyler Adams? Yes, as a centre midfielder and also replace right back. Congrats on all you do. It's taken COVID to mean I can finally catch a live show. Well, I hope you get better soon, mate, but thank you so much for joining me. I absolutely do. Yes, Tyler Adams should be on Arsenal's list. It should be a player that we should be looking at and going for. His versatility is great. His quality is great. His leadership skills are great, which are shown in the US men's national team. Without a shadow of a doubt, Tyler Adams should be on our list. Dapo Dap says, what do you think of Gabriel Jesus? I think he can play in the Laka role and score more goals. I think that he can certainly add plenty of quality to Arsenal's team. Again, like Lautaro Martinez, would not sign him on his own. We would need to go for a Schick or a Nunez alongside him, I think, to make it work. But I would not be closing the door to Gabriel Jesus. Paul says, is Cody Gakpo and Jonathan David a combination that could work? Yes, I think it can, and certainly is on my list. James Rose says, do you think we're waiting to see if Everton or Leeds get relegated regarding some of our targets, as Calvert-Lewin and Rafinha could be available at a cut price? I think that Calvert-Lewin's going to be available at a cut price no matter what, but significantly more, of course, if they do go down. Rafinha, we know the situation with him. 75 million if they stay up, 25 million if they go down. But I think Barcelona would be the team that come in to take him eventually. Tim says, is Gary Neville the cluelessest bunch of the clueless? No, he's not. I think he's got some very good views on certain things. But on that view specifically that we talked about earlier about him saying that Arsenal just have a ceiling of top 4, he doesn't have a good view on that one. Jonathan says, do you think we should attempt to sign Calvert-Lewin if Everton gets relegated and we sign another striker? I think that if Calvert-Lewin is to be the one that we go for, it's a big, big risk. And we'd have to sign someone else as well as him to make it much, much less risky of a signing. But I wouldn't rule it out. I still think there's a lot of potential to come from Calvert-Lewin, and I think in a new side he would flourish. But we will have to wait and see. Did we get 3 penalties, and that's why Lacazette scored? Says JM. I don't know what the goals were and how they were scored, but he did score 3. So fingers crossed they were all fantastic strikes. Manu says Gakpo seems really mature, a leader, and does church community service as well. Wow. Do you like to watch interviews of players we are linked with? It gives me a good idea of their mentality. If they ever pop on my screen, I don't actively search them out, but if they do pop up, then yeah, learning more about them is always a positive, and what their personality is like. But I think the club go the extra length to kind of find out what these are behind the scenes. If you remember, we spoke with Oliver Zeziger. We speak with Oliver quite a few times during the transfer window, especially when we're linked to Swiss players. He's a scout in Switzerland, and he's been the head researcher for Football Manager and the Swiss side of things for quite a while now. But he's done scouting professionally. He's done it for clubs in Switzerland. And he talked to us on the channel about specifically looking at players' personality and talking with them and talking to their coaches and finding out more about them. And the club at Arsenal will certainly be doing that, and to, I'm sure, a much more, with the amount of investment they're able to pump into scouting at a lot more specificial kind of level. So I think that, yeah, absolutely it's important that they watch interviews, that they speak to the players, they speak to their coaches and the people around them to get a good idea about their mentality as well. The Stocks guy says, do we have a chance to sign Firmino? Maybe, but I don't think I'd go for him. Tono says, hi, Tom. Great to be back in the live show. Great to have you here, mate. What do you think about the new Champions League format? Think it makes the competition too complicated and for money? I don't mind the round robin system. I do mind the historical merit qualification system for a couple of sides. That should be scrapped without a shadow of a doubt. Tulip says, also, won't Calvert-Lewin want to start as World Class is a World Cup? Sorry, I always associate WC with World Class. It's coming next year. That will affect his chances of going to Qatar. Yes, it will. So maybe a team like, I don't know, West Ham would have a better chance to sign Calvert-Lewin over Arsenal because they can guarantee him places. But if you can guarantee him Champions League football, that would arguably be really better, like really beneficial to him to be able to step up and show that he can play in the Champions League as well. Paul says, when you guest on other channels, you often appear to get a lot of abuse. How do you manage this? I admire your calmness. Yeah, look, obviously it's never nice to see mean comments or anything like that, but it's part and parcel of the business, unfortunately. It shouldn't be, but it is. And, you know, people don't like the fact that I've supported Arteta in the past. People don't like the fact that I call people out at certain times, or they don't like the fact that I block people based upon their own abusive comments. But that's fine. Like, you're never going to be able to please everybody. And it is what it is. At the end of the day, I always kind of say, if people are talking about you, you're probably doing something right, especially in the context that they seem to. And, you know, things have only got better for the channel. Things have only got better for where my career, of which, if you consider that I quit teaching in 2020, and I've gone from quitting teaching into a freelance writing job to, you know, Reach and Football.London in the space of 18 months, I must be doing something right, surely. So, yeah, look, it is what it is. You're always going to get abuse. You're always going to get that kind of thing. But I like the fact that we've been able to, and I always say we, because I consider TGT a community. I'm a poet and I didn't know it. I always consider it to be a community because, you know, this is the best chat box in the Arsenal sphere without question. The support, the community feel, just the great times that I see people having in the Discord server. When I meet people at games, like we managed to do the other week at the Liverpool match, you can sense the community. So it's always going to happen, Paul. It is what it is. But yeah, to be honest, I think there's something like somewhere between 800 and 1,000 blocked accounts on this channel. That's how many we've had to block because of abuse. And I'm not always because of abuse, sometimes because of spam, sometimes because of, unfortunately, some really horrible things as well. But we just, you know, there's rules and you can't say whatever you want. It's not a block of freedom of speech. It's, you know, teaching people that you can't abuse and that if you are going to do that, you're going to have to go somewhere else to do it. So that's always the one. You probably saw I tweeted this. Someone left a comment on Charles Watts' channel the other day calling me woke, which I mean is incredible. I always find the word woke is something that's often used by not very nice people to describe people who are usually quite nice and are very accepting of diversity and accepting of culture. That's usually what the word woke is used for, and the people that use that word. So if I'm woke, I don't really mind because it often means that you're probably quite a nice person. So fair enough. Madness. Anyway, Charles, much love to your channel. Make sure you check it out, Charles Watts, as well, because he's absolutely brilliant. Axel says, can you name the 3 interesting feasible centre-back targets if we sell Saliba? For me, we should try to go for Tomori. Hopefully he misses London. Tomori's a great shout. I'd look at someone like Pau Torres, someone like Tapsoba at Bayer Leverkusen that we've been linked to in the past. There are options out there that we can certainly push for. It's not the end of the world if Saliba does leave. However, I do hope that he stays. Troy says, so do you watch other people's shows? And if a person misbehaves, you block them on your show? I've done that like twice because I've noticed like a familiar name. So because they know I can't block them, Troy, on that channel, they take the opportunity to then go hell for leather in that channel or chat box to go for me because they know I can't do anything. So it's only happened a couple of times. But if I've remembered the name and it pops up in this chat and it sticks in my mind, I'll be like, oh, I remember who you are. See you later. Yeah, so often that comes up. But mainly what happens is because you're in other chat boxes, there's a lot of people in other chat boxes that are blocked from this channel. So they then take the opportunity, which is fine. I accept that. I know that's going to happen. It doesn't bother me. It's always going to happen. That's what happens when you block enough accounts. They're going to find you on other when you appear on anywhere else. But that's fine. I like going on the Arsenal Lounge. I like going on Harry Symeou's show. I like going on the Highbury Scored or Lee Judges TV. You're always going to get people that aren't agreeing with what you're saying. You're always going to get people that are going to send you abuse. But it is unfortunately part of the business, and that's what you have to accept, and that's why you have to grow thick skin. There are some things that I don't find acceptable, and we've done specific shows on that. I remember when we did a show talking about abuse in journalism, and specifically when I wrote a piece about William Saliba, getting a lot of abuse off that. I did a piece about Martin Odegaard and did a comparison with Mesut Ozil's kind of application of their effort and pressure. And I got a lot of, as you would imagine, because Mesut Ozil does kind of garner quite a cult following at times. So I got a lot of abuse off of that. And we did a show specifically on that. We've done shows on Marcus Rashford and the racism that he has experienced. We don't hide away from a lot of the big topics and we talk about it. I'm always very, very well aware of the fact that I am a white guy and, I am never going to experience the awful things that some people have to experience in their daily lives. But there is also an element that I need to take responsibility to talk about those things, because if, the person who is on, and I hate using these words, but it is the situation. As a white person, I have a level of privilege because I don't experience racism. I am not racially abused like plenty of my friends are. And if I don't talk about it, that won't make any kind of difference. So it's important that I do talk about it. And if people don't like it, go somewhere else. And, it's as simple as that, really. 100%. There you go. I'll have to dig up the Ozil Odegaard comparison. Cam, I'll send you it if you want to give it a read. Basically, it was a piece where I talked about why Martin Odegaard is basically proving Mikel Arteta right about why he signed him. It did quite well. A lot of people did read it. It was back in September, but I'll put it in the chat box for you. Here you go. That should be it. That's the link. You should be able to go read it. Oh, that's really annoying. Hold on. Let me click on the article again. It spread it across 2 comments. So I'm not sure it's going to be able to come up in the chat. Let's try this link here. There you go. You should be able to go read that article there. Keep on the soapbox talk. I never know what that means. I don't. People say soapbox all the time. I don't know what it means. Please tell me, Morgie. I didn't have a club what it is. Manu says this is exactly why I subscribed. Don't shy away from real talk. Absolutely, mate. AFC West Mid says this is a show I enjoy. It feel like your point of view is considered and debated if it's relevant. Nothing but positive for an Arsenal fan, and horrible if you're not. Our community is the strongest. Dan says, Tom, you should do the ultimate Premier League team player squad. 1 player from each team. It is quite a challenge. I've done that before. I did that a couple of years ago, not on the channel, but I did it somewhere else. It is really hard because you're only allowed 1 player from each team. It's really difficult because you have to have Salah, but then you can't have, Alisson, or you can't have Van Dijk. You have to have Kevin De Bruyne, but then you can't have Ederson or, Ruben Diaz, or it's really hard. It's really difficult to do that. But yeah, that's one for the summer, probably, Dan, when we've got a lot more time on our hands. Look, Benga says, who do you prefer, Cody Gakpo or Rafinha? Do we really have to sell Saliba if he wants to leave? Can't we play hardball and make him stay? In answer to your first question, Cody Gakpo is my preferred choice. Excuse me. And Saliba, we don't have to sell him. No. If he wants to leave, we can keep him, but we would be minded that he's not going to sign a new contract, and 2 years left on his deal, it's only going to lower his market value. So I would be inclined to sell. So there you go. Soapbox, getting up and above the crowd and talking great sense. Okay, that's what soapbox means. Soapbox, people used to stand on soapboxes and stand up so they could be heard. Long before our time, Tom. Back in the day. Back in the day, indeed. Thanks for answering the question, Tom. No problem, Troy. And you're entitled to ask the question, so I appreciate you tuning in, mate. MRM says, Tom, thoughts on who? I don't want to say the name because often what happens is these are people that turn out to be on blooming what's it called? What's the show called? Ted Lasso. So, but that's not even come up. I'm assuming is it a funny one? I don't know who that is. I don't know who that is. Someone in the chat box, I'm sure, will tell me. Pedro says, well, according to my page, we've got 8 likes so far. Hit the likes. Do hit the likes, people, if you haven't done so already. Who's the player of the month, Tom? Mine's Partey. Says Fuad, but it's a hard choice. It is a hard choice. I think in terms of who has been the most effective over this month, Thomas Partey has certainly been one of the most consistent. Bukayo Saka's had another really solid month as well. Obviously, the goal he scored against Aston Villa. He's just been great as Bukayo Saka. Gabriel Martinelli, I think, has had a really solid month too, but obviously he did miss one of the games against Villa. But I think Thomas Partey has to be him. There's little doubt about that. I think that it has to be Thomas Partey without a shadow of a doubt. Manu says, for chat, name a player from the last 5 seasons who you get more excited than Ødegaard is doing right now. He had Armenia on ropes. I did watch a lot of the highlights of that game, and whilst he didn't get a goal or an assist in the absolute rout that Norway had, he was so in control and so orchestrative. Is that a word? I think it is. Orchestrative of the team. Conductive, I suppose, is another good word, of the side, and just pulling those strings. And that's what we know. That's what we know about Ødegaard, is that he's a player that isn't always going to get a goal. He's not always going to get assists. But what he is going to do is that he is absolutely going to pull those strings for the club. And that's what he's done for Norway now as well. Edrasas says, how many points do you think we will get next month? It's a great question, especially when I have to look up all of the games for next month because you don't know when they stop. So Crystal Palace, I think will win. Brighton, I think will win. Southampton, I think will win. Chelsea, I don't think will win. Man United, I hope we'll win, but I'm worried because it's so close to the Chelsea game that we may not. So I'd say 10 or 12 points is what I'm targeting. Really, we need to target 12. That should be the target, hopefully, but we'll have to wait and see. JDB says, Tom, has there been a player transfer link that lingered on for a month or so and then just disappeared that annoyed you because you really wanted it to happen? Dominic Szoboszlai obviously comes to mind when we think about that. I suppose it went on for longer than a month, but that was always a bit of a frustration. Emi Buendia, obviously, I think that was also longer than a month, but it did kind of go up and down in terms of when it was happening. January of last year, it certainly stepped up, and then it started at the beginning of the summer, and then obviously he signed for Aston Villa. So that's another. Tapsoba was a player that I really wanted us to sign, and that link didn't last very, very long. Really solid centre-back. Certainly someone I think that would have improved us at the back as well, but we don't really need him now because we have Saliba coming back, you hope, and Ben White is already here as well. So there you go. Matt G says, I thought Ødegaard got one. Did he get 1 assist? Oh, maybe he did get 1 assist. I thought he didn't. But there you go. Well, apparently he got 2 assists. He's going up as we speak. I don't know how many assists he got, but again, it's just that point that even if he's not necessarily getting the goals or getting as many assists as he should do, it's the impact he's making on the team is what you have to come to expect from him. The Buendia stream was legitness. Yeah, look, I've been very angry in a few streams, but that was certainly one of the ones where I kind of went full damn pots, you might say, in that one at times. And look, I've watched that back because of the number of people that have left comments on that video in recent past, especially a lot of people that have really rubbed it into Aston Villa fans. Do I regret some of the things I said? No, because it's probably how I felt during that time. And I was frustrated. And I did say that I think Aston Villa were acting like a bigger team than us in that moment. I started the season very angry as well. And I said that Arteta should probably go after the Man City game. but I think that you know, in those moments, you do lack a bit more perspective. You lack context, and that certainly did affect kind of my point of view. So there you go. Carl says, I'll see your 2 assists and I'll raise you 3. He got all 9 assists, says Dan Robert. Oh, dearie me. We're going to wrap things up there, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, as always. Do drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed the show. We did get a bit deep today with some of the questions, but that's fine. We never shy away from some of the really important stuff. I appreciate you tuning in. There will be another show. Obviously, there'll be one at 10 o'clock on the Arsenal Way with me and Bailey. So do go and check that out. And also do watch our show this evening at 8 p.m. with me and Kev. We'll be talking about the Arsenal youth team, Amari Hutchinson following Balogun, Brooknott and Cuffy, how they're getting on loan, and how the youth team's been getting on. Marcelo Flores is going to take quite an interesting look at today as well. So really exciting stuff coming through Hale End, and we're going to be talking all about that this evening. So I'll see you later. I'm conscious, though, it's clashing with the... It doesn't clash, does it? Because the girls are on at 5:45. Best of luck to the girls tonight as well. Wolfsburg, huge game. Get it done, girls, and take us through. Because the Champions League will be quite nice in the pocket of Arsenal. We do need one, and the emphasis is on you to go and get it for us. So best of luck tonight in Wolfsburg, and fingers crossed we can bring home a great result. See you soon, guys, and as always, up the Arsenal.